Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And today I would like to share my initial thoughts on The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie now that I've completed the first act of each character's story route, which took me around 12 hours or so. And I am absolutely loving this game. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to repeat myself again. The Trails series is my favorite series of all time. In fact, there's no other series quite like it, with its attention to detail, character development, world building, lore, just everything about it is amazing. And Trails into Reverie now being the 10th entry in the series, it expects you to have played the 9 previous games, and as someone who has, I can't imagine skipping out on some. Like, it's crazy to me that Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure just recently released in the US, with Zero in 2022 and Azure in 2023, with Reverie also being in 2023. And I guess you sort of get the abridged version of what happened in Crossbell and Lloyd Banning's in the special support section as you play the Cold Steel games, particularly with Cold Steel 2, 3, and 4, but you don't know the whole story. And it's so cool to see story arcs continue that began as early as Trails in the Sky first chapter, continue in Reverie. Like, one moment that really caught me off guard was early in the game, you run into Estelle and Joshua, and they start talking about these two characters, the Erebonian and Calvardian ambassadors, who I forgot about. And these were somewhat important characters from the Sky trilogy, but they name drop them. And then on your screen, they flash artwork of these two characters as they appeared in the Sky trilogy. And it's like, holy crap, man, I remember them now. It's like little details like that just continue to show up as you play these games. And even something as, well, it's actually a pretty big deal, but in Cold Steel 2, for instance, you'll have McBurn reference Louvet. And then you get to Cold Steel 3 and 4, and they also continue to mention Louvet, and then you get like more backstory about him and how he was connected to Joshua, and even how he sparred with Duvali. And then you see artwork of Louvet, and it's like, man, I know all about Louvet from playing the Sky trilogy. And it's just the payoff from things like that is really special. So I realize I might have already said spoilers, but this is your spoiler warning. I'm probably going to discuss things that happened in the 9 previous games, as well as the first act of Trails into Reverie. And near the end, I'm going to make some predictions as to what I think is going to happen, in particular about a certain masked character. But I really do like the structure of Trails into Reverie. Of course, this takes place after Trails of Cold Steel 4, as I already said. Play the 9 previous games, and then you'll get to Reverie. But I think a lot of people had this complaint as they played Trails of Cold Steel 4, and that's the fact that there are a lot of characters. I counteracted this argument in my Trails of Cold Steel 4 video, in that I like having so many characters, and I felt like the game did a good job at spacing them out, in that with each story segment, the game would give you like 3 or 4 mandatory party members because they are relevant to that particular moment in the story, and then you can select who you want in your reserve party. Well, with Trails into Reverie, there's 3 main characters who each have their stories going on, and I think in the end they're all going to converge and then, I guess, save the world. But the factions are all split up. So the 3 main characters, we have Lloyd Bannings, Reen Schwarzer, and C. Not Crow C, at least I don't think it's Crow C. A new C. And as you would expect, with Lloyd's group, you have the special support section, as well as some other characters who we'll get to in a second. Reen's group, you have New Class 7, although there was that moment at the end of Cold Steel 4 where Yuna was talking about New Class 7, and then I think it was Laura, she said, no, Yuna, we're all Class 7 now. So, all Class 7, although Reen's arc starts with New Class 7, and Claire. And then C, which is very important to read the 3 and 9 novel before starting C's route, because, you know, you're not going to know who Swin and Nadia are. Which I guess the game could explain that as you progress, but as someone who read the novel, I'm like, oh, I know who these two are. And it's cool to see as they use their attacks, it's how they were described in the novel. But finally, Crossbell is going to declare its independence. We have Speaker McDowell. One thing I really love, too, as someone who's, of course, played every game, there's some characters who we haven't seen in 3D yet. And now in Trails into Reverie, we can see them because as we explored Crossbell, in Cold Steel 2, it was just the Geofront. But you could see, like, the central area. Remember they showed, like, Mimi and Cope and a few of the others. And Grace, of course. But yeah, you had the Geofront in Cold Steel 2. And then once you get to Cold Steel 3 and 4, you can explore Crossbell, but not all of it. Like, you can't go to the residential district, which you still can't go to the residential district in Reverie, which is kind of funny. But in Reverie, you can go to, like, the Crossbell Cathedral and all sorts of other places. So that was cool. But anyway, my point there is you're seeing characters in 3D for the first time. Like, in Cold Steel 2, we had Lloyd, Risha, Grace, Rains, Sally, and a few others. And then when you get to Cold Steel 3, you see more of the NPCs, Randy and Tio, and then Cold Steel 4, Ellie and Kia. But for the first time, we see Arios, Noel, Wazzy, Chief Sergey, Dudley, Ilya. Oh, and Sully, too. We saw Sully in Cold Steel 3, didn't we? Cold Steel 3 or 4. I forget. One of those games. One of the Cold Steel 3 or 4 games. But yeah, Sully. So you see all these characters again. It's just so cool. They all have English voice actors. They all do a great job. And I'll go through, because I have a little slideshow prepared, so I'll go through some of them. So, like, there's Arios. Oh, and the Bracers, too. And Michelle, Ilya, and Lynn, and Scott. And then Wenzel, he was actually, that was the other lore detail you learned playing, like, the Zero and Azure games, the Crossbell games. Wenzel was an Erebonian Bracer, and then he went back to Erebonia, which is so cool. There's Wazzy, and there's the Vice Commissioner Pierre. There was that one side quest, I think was it in Trails, I think it was Trails to Azure, where you gotta help him. He thinks his wife is cheating on him or something, and you gotta go snoop around, and you find out it's not really the case. And Wazzy brought that up, and he's like, "Damn it, Hemisphere, won't you let that go? That's over 2 years ago." And look at Wazzy's face. Do you think I struck a nerve? Well, of course you did. Wazzy has so many great lines where he's just messing with Lloyd. There's the one famous line in Azure where he says to Lloyd, "Oh, we can compare septifies if you want, sweetheart." Which I still don't even know what the fuck that means. But Wazzy calls Lloyd his boy toy or something, and it's so funny. Which, yeah, we see Wald and Sister Scarlet, which you learn that if you do Crow's bonding event in Cold Steel 4. But yeah, with Scarlet, or S, which S is also a Swin. We're getting names confused, but yeah, Scarlet. You learn about her backstory, how she was originally involved with the Gralsritter in Arteria in Cold Steel 2. And then to see her finally go and become a squire again and work with Wazzy, and how she has her own redemption arc. It's just so cool, man. And I think in the bonding event with Crow in Cold Steel 3, or sorry, Cold Steel 4, she mentions how she's with Father Wazzy and the Bald Knight, who is Abbas. Which Abbas isn't in this game, which is kind of a shame, but maybe he'll appear later. And then, of course, Noel, who you see Rex in Crossbell, and he acknowledges, "Oh, look at those little booty shorts you're wearing, Noel. Let me get a picture." And Noel's like, "No, they're for comfort. What are you doing, you creep?" But Noel, why are you doing that pose after the victory then? But yeah, seeing Noel and Father Wazzy and seeing their S-Crafts. Oh, it's so cool. Noel's S-Craft is so badass. She gets like this motorcycle, 0 to 60. And she like runs the enemies over and starts firing away. So cool. I absolutely love it. I love too how they reuse certain tracks, like on the mains mountain path. That's the same track from Zero and Azure. The Crossbell Cathedral of the Church Bells is the same theme from Zero and Azure. At the cemetery, you can inspect the graves. You can inspect Guy's grave, Saya McLean's grave, and then the Grimwood family's grave. And then there's that old lady who's always there. She's there again. So good, man. So much great attention to detail. Of course, probably the best thing is Rishia, who got even bigger. And Ilya mentions that. Ilya's like, did you grow a cup size or two? I must inspect them. And there she is. Ilya, who's now recovered from her surgery and dancing again. But I love the character artwork. And seeing this group again, all in the party, is just surreal, man. Because, of course, in Cold Steel 4, we had the main SSS with Lloyd, Ellie, Tio, and Randy. But now Wazzy, Noel, and Risha are here. No Dudley, but Dudley had business elsewhere he was taking care of. I mean, he's in this game, but he wasn't in the party because he's dealing with some other stuff. And for Crossbell's signing ceremony, there's other familiar faces, such as Elisa and Supermaid, Sharon Kruger, Toa, Machias, which Machias is there with Dudley. And I don't know, man. Are they going to pull something like how Aurelia and Ellie are distant relatives because of their hair and their lineage? Because, I mean, dude, Inspector Machias, Detective Dudley, they both have green hair, glasses, they like coffee. I mean, what's going on there? Oh, and also Fran, she's there. Like, all these characters are here. It's just great. I love it. I love it. It's so rewarding to finally see all these events merge, and I couldn't be happier. Oh, one thing I should note too, this is kind of random, but on the menu there with the U materials, you see it has like its own little a number there. In the early games, you can only hold 99 U materials, and then in Cold Steel 4, you can have 999. I wonder how many you can hold here, because it has its own little menu. And then I don't know what the hell that purple thing is yet. I guess that'll be explained later, but I have no idea. So again, with the combat, every game just continues to get better and better with the combat. This new thing is called United Front, where you'll have your 4 main attacking party members, but once you have it charged up, you can do a United Front and either do a really powerful attack, a really powerful, well, physical attack, a powerful art attack, or a powerful heal, and your characters in the reserve will all get involved. And they have this great quote like, all right, everyone, all for one, one for all. It's so fucking Kino, and it gets even more hyped. And also, dude, each route has its own battle theme, battle and boss theme. Like Lloyd has its own battle and boss theme, very similar to Zero and Azure Music. Green has its own, and then the C has its own, and it's so cool, man. I freaking love it. And as you progress through the story, the art will change. I love too in the beginning how Yuna was helping the SSS. That was great. And so as the story continues, this is all taking place on the same day. I believe it was March 15th. And it's interesting how it was set up, how Lloyd's was in the morning and afternoon, Ream's was in the afternoon and evening, and then C's was at night. So it all took place in the same day, but all these characters' stories are continuing, and it's just crazy. I'll get to more details about Lloyd's story in a second. Let me just go through more of the slideshow. So then we have Ream's group, which they're back in Ymir, and Reen is taking his class to meet his parents. We see mother and father Schwarzer, Teo, and Lucia Schwarzer, and a really great character moment from Altina, where she apologizes what she did in Cold Steel 2, how she abducted Princess Alphen and Elise, and I loved it, man. Like, she was bowing her head, and then Teo said, no, raise your head. I have to thank you for always looking after my son. You know, you've been an invaluable ally, and I'm grateful for that. Just such an awesome moment. They changed the character artwork here from as they appeared in Cold Steel 3 and 4. It looks beautiful. Except Claire still looks the same as she did in Cold Steel 2, but that's fine. And she's there, which, great moment when they're in the hot spring, talking about if they can achieve true happiness, because they both feel guilt with their actions of what happened with the Great Twilight and all that. And that's them with the United Front. So cool. And you get to meet Matthias Vander, who you've only really heard about him in 3 and 4, Cold Steel 3 and 4, but you get to meet him, and he's actually a really chill dude. Like, he's he's powerful, and he's a no-nonsense type of guy. But then you have that moment with him in the hot spring, and he's like, you know, Reen, thank you for looking after my son. And then he tells Kurt how proud he is of him. And a great moment for Kurt, who I feel is an underrated character in this series. Oh boy, so now let's talk about C's group. And it's fucking Kino, man. First of all, C's voice with the voice modulator is just so badass. It's so fucking badass. There's a moment where he starts laughing, and it just sounds Kino. And I love it. Here's the S-crafts from the characters. So, I should start, too, with C's main group. We have C, obviously, and then these two, Swin and Nadia, and then this little girl, who, we'll get to that in a second. But, Swin and Nadia are carrying this briefcase, who happens to have the little girl. It reminded me so much of Kia in Trails from Zero. There's Swin and Nadia. And then C. Which C's S-craft is so fucking Kino, man. He goes, "These swords are of those who lost their way. On guard!" And then he says something, I don't know what the fuck he says. If someone can tell me, please leave a comment. Brute Gang Rain! And it's so fucking badass. And it just, like, whatever's going on with this dude, these swords are of those who have lost their way. Like, has this dude lost his way? What's even going on here?
These swords are of those who lost their way. On guard! You're in need of polish. Touchdown! Brute Gang Rain!
And it's so interesting because Lloyd and Reen's route were both similar in length. They both took, I don't know, 5 hours or so. But C's was 45 minutes. It was really quick. There was no exploration whatsoever. You start off just controlling Swin and Nadia. And then you get into 2 boss fights, one after the other. And then, you know, C opens the briefcase, sees this doll, and it's like, oh, I'm doing quite well, actually. In fact, we're about to have a lot of fun. And then you see the opening, and 12 hours into the game, you get the title, which is crazy. And I love it, man. And I've said this before, like, this game could be 200, 300 hours. I am going to fully immerse myself in it, and I can't wait. I'm so excited to continue playing. Yeah, that's what C says. It's such a great line. With the voice modulator, his voice is so Kino. He starts laughing. He's like, I'm doing quite well, actually. Because Nadia asks, what's the matter with you? Did you have some mushrooms or something? What are you laughing about, you crazy guy? No, never did I expect to have this much fun. And then he opens the briefcase, and we see this this little girl, who reminds me a lot of Kia. So I'm curious if she's a homunculus as well. Interesting how one eye is yellow and one's blue. But yeah, I love this game. So far, it's great. I absolutely love it. The most interesting character to me is obviously C. And it was just cool to see Swin and Nadia as well after having read the 3 and 9 novel. And so I realized I didn't really talk much about the story, so I'll just say, in terms of what happened with Lloyd, is, of all people, Rufus Alborea shows up to cancel out Crossbell's Declaration of Independence, but he has help, and along with him, a woman who appears to look like Ilya, except she's wearing a mask, Dieter Croix and Garcia Rossi, the Emperor from the 3 and 9 novel, who I thought Swin and Nadia killed, but I guess not. And up in the distance, Professor Novartis, like, it's been quite some time since I've been to this fair land. It's like, fucking hell. How did Rufus break out of prison? And you know, I thought Rufus was a changed man after what happened, especially his conversation with Eustace, how he acknowledged he was proud of Class 7, that he was able to play a part in forming Class 7. And then at the very end, he took the blame for what happened with Lecter and Claire. But I guess not. And then, same thing, like, Dieter Kreuz, I feel like he sort of atoned in a way, like, he accepted the fact that he made his mistake and was going to jail. And same thing with Garcia Rossi, Garcia Rossi is a fucking awesome character, especially in Trails to Azure. One of my favorite moments of this entire series, breaking out of prison with the fucking mafia boss who you put in prison. It doesn't get any more Kino than that. And they get, like, the Inevitable Struggle Super Rage version playing in the background. It's so fucking good. And it's like, go, Lloyd, go! I'll hold him off. And as Lloyd leaves, he's like, oh, Guy Bannings, some brother you left behind. So good. And I like, what is Garcia doing? And then Novartis, I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, you know Ouroboros is fucking around in this game, of course. So it's cool. Well, interesting to see Novartis and not someone like the first Anguis or the fourth or fifth that we haven't seen yet. But I'll continue playing. And then with Reen's story, you have to fight Claire and Mateus because they're basically giving you a trial. And a fucking awesome moment where Kurt climbs off he gets knocked off the cliff and then he climbs up the cliff and he's got blood on his hands like, I'm gonna fight you, father. So awesome. And then Mateus and Claire mention that Olivert and Shera have gone on their honeymoon, but no one can contact them. To which I say, like, is that even surprising for Oliver going away and not contacting anybody? I don't really think that's a cause for concern, but that's the central focus with Reen's group, is to figure out what's going on with the debaucherous prince and his lovely wife. Although, I guess they're on their honeymoon. Maybe he's having a get-together with Blue Block. He doesn't want anyone to know. But, while that happened, Reen had like almost an internal struggle with his spirit unification form. So and he still has a spirit unification craft. So I wonder what's going to happen there. And we fought a Magic Knight, which we've established they appear when the Septian veins are out of whack. So there's that. And at the end, so that's how all the routes converge. At the end, Claire gets the call that Crossbell has been attacked again, and then really emotional moment with Yuna where it's like, why can't they just leave Crossbell alone? We just want to live in peace, and they keep taking it away from us. Really great moment from Yuna, and we learn there. And then they get a message from C. It's like, I am C of the Reformed Imperial Liberation Front. We are going to the capital. And he says basically in a cryptic way, he's going to the capital. So I think that's the next story segment for Reen's group, is going to the capital to find out what's up with C. And what C's motive is, and why this little girl in the briefcase is so important. And it'll be interesting where I go from here. I think I'm going to do Lloyd's route next. I don't know like how it's going to really work. It was structured quite well in the beginning because Lloyd was the prologue, so you had to start with him, and then you had to do Reen's route next before advancing to C. But the point I'm at now is I have all three routes available, so I can choose whichever one I want. I think I'm going to go with Lloyd, although I guess I question how to continue playing and if the game basically guides you along, because right now I have free choice of picking whichever one I want, and it'll be interesting because Lloyd in the special support session were defeated, so like what's going to happen? Like where's it even pick up? I mean with Reen, we know they're going to Heimdall, and with C, where the hell is... Well, C said he's going to Heimdall, too. But I don't really know where he was, because it was dark out. And they were fighting the Evan Defense Force, where the same guys under control of Rufus. Man, so many questions. So you guys probably want to know, who do I think C is? Well, C has, well, the S-Craft and then 2 regular crafts. And the one craft, the way he attacked, reminded me so much of one of Eustace's crafts. But I don't think it's Eustace. I really don't. So, putting 2 and 2 together, remembering the other characters who use letters in their names, the original C, of course, being Crow, S, Scarlet, V, Vulcan, G, Gideon. I'm going to take a guess that this C is actually Cedric. And this is his way of sort of atoning for what happened in the previous games. Now, I know he joined Ouroboros at the end of Cold Steel 4, but it feels like something that could be possible. And we've seen in the past, not everyone in Ouroboros is evil. Not everyone is like Weissman or Professor Novartis. We have Aryan Rhodes, McBurns, and well, Joshua, Ren, and Sharon, of course. So, that's my thought there. I'm trying to think if I left anything out. I love this game, man. And to go back to Crossbell, I know I've sort of been all over the place, but it is what it is. I feel like I've explored Crossbell the most in all these games, and it was so special going around talking to the NPCs there again, because with Reen's route, we could only explore Ymir. Although that was pretty fun. There's a moment where you have the party split up, and Muse's talking to Reen's mother, and she's like, "Oh, mother, tell me about my dear instructor when he was a young boy. You know, he's going to be you're my future in-law after all." It's like Muse shooting her shot. Oh, but it was just so good. So good. I loved it. Let me just go through the slideshow once again. The artwork is just incredible. I love the artwork. Arios. Can't wait to find out what happens to Arios. And Shizuku, she's in the game too. Of course, I don't know if I mentioned her. Wazi and his shenanigans, acting sus. Noel. Yeah, I think I said that earlier. So, in Crossbell, we have established that Elisa, Sharon, Toa, and Machias are there, and Rex was there. So, I wouldn't be surprised if all the shit that went down in Crossbell, what if we actually control a group of, like, Machias, Toa, and because Toa, I'm pretty sure Toa's going to rejoin the party, because she was a party member in Trails of Cold Steel 2, and she was a reserve party member in 3 and 4 in that she can use orders, so she might do that. She might just return and give orders. That'd be cool. But I wouldn't be surprised if we control those characters and sort of regroup with Lloyd and the others. Risha and Ilya. What is going on with Ilya too, man? Like, is she why is she evil? What the fuck is going on there? The SSS. I love it, man. I love it. And again, the English voice actors are so good. We've heard them all, aside from Noel and Wazi in the other Cold Steel games, but Noel's fits perfectly, and Wazi's, whoever voices Wazi, such a great job. Although they actually recast Risha, because Erica Mendez had voiced Risha in Cold Steel 2, but then she voiced Ellie in Cold Steel 4, so someone else is voicing Risha now, which is cool. She does a good job. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. What's next? Oh yeah, Reen's group. I love to, once they do Reen's character introduction, he looks so genuinely happy. After all the shit he's been through, he's finally achieved a sense of peace of mind. And the music, man. The music is so good. Oh! See!
These swords are of those who have lost their way. On guard!
Please, someone leave a comment what he says for his whole S-Craft, because his S-Craft is fucking Kino. I love it. All the S-Crafts are pretty Kino. Alright guys, this video's gone on long enough. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Anything I missed, any other questions you have, leave a comment, I'll answer them. As I said, I've just finished the first act for each character's route, and I'm going to continue with Lloyd next. If anyone has like a recommended play order, I'm curious to hear that. But otherwise, I think the beginning was probably the only way where it was set up that way, where you had to do Lloyd, Reen, and then C, and now it's sort of open-ended. But at the same time, I like how they did that, because it had morning, afternoon, evening, and then night. That was really cool. So thanks so much, guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Peace out.
99.